Hi, thanks for joining to our stream. Today, we will be talking about the sales process that every team member must follow. Okay, so why are we talking about this topic? And it's because in every company I work with, as a project manager, as a consultant, as a team member, as a CEO, um, I have seen problems with the sales. I've seen problems with how the team handles the process, or they don't have a process. They let everybody do whatever they want. uh, they don't have a structure. They don't have something to follow. It's a process that is not replicable, and then that causes a lot of problems. So for example, if you don't have something that you can replicate when you hire someone new, you don't have something to train on that person, right? It's like they are they're doing whatever they want. They don't have a process to follow. They don't know what tool to use, um, or how to do certain thing for sales. And then it's really difficult to train more people, and it's really difficult to know what will happen when you have a process that is replicable, that is standard, that every member follows. You can have KPIs, and you can have a way to track what is happening. Um, you can have a way to measure. You can have a way to know what worked and what didn't work, and you can modify that. You can improve it. You can learn, oh, that is not working, let's change that one point number one of the process, point number two of the process. You can make tests. You can train people on the specific process. But if you don't have any process, if you don't have a structure, it is really, really difficult to follow something, to know the outcome, to know one plus one is equal to two. If you don't have a process, you cannot have that prediction. You cannot make a prediction. So today we'll be talking about that. Okay. Um, Number one on the sales process, and this is the we'll be having another session where I'll talk about the specifics of the process. Today is the big things that you have to do always. It doesn't matter if you're in a call or if you're sending a message, or it doesn't matter. You follow these steps. This is your process. Um, and let's go over quickly, and then I'll go back. So number one, introduce yourself. Identify the client's need. Convince the client. Make the offer. Close the deal and follow up. That's your process. Okay? It's something simple, it's something replicable, it's something that you can then create the actions of each process. Introduce yourself, identify the client's need, convince the client, make an offer, close the deal, follow up. Simple as that. If you have a process, your team, they have to know the process. They have to memorize these process. It's only 6 steps. Maybe you ask them during your daily meeting, hey, what is step number 6? And if they don't know it, they have to learn it. As they get used to this process, it'll be everything will become easier. Okay. So number one, introduce yourself. You need to build trust from the first hello. You need confidence. Sets the confidence will set the tone. Um, I learned very young when my parents, they had their own company, and we had a printer shop, and the printer shop was in our house. So if someone called, it could be something for the family or something for the business. So maybe I was answering the phone call, or maybe it was my sister or my brother or someone. Sometimes it was our brother or sister, I don't know, 2 years old, 3 years old, and they were like, you know, agugutata or whatever, right? They were babies. They didn't know how to talk, and sometimes it was difficult. So my parents, they trained us on how to answer the phone. And I still remember, in Spanish we said, um, imprenta digital y familia Navas, ¿con quién tengo el gusto? This is the imprenta digital printer and Navas family. Who am I speaking to? That was it. All the time, every single time someone called, we had to answer that way. And a lot of clients, they were very interested in how an 8-year old was answering the phone. We were the secretaries answering the phone. Oh, okay. And then we had to know, like, if it was a client, who the client was. What's your name? Oh, okay. You want to talk with Irene or with Juan about a new service, about a current service we're providing, about something, right? If my parents were not at home, we had to get the message for them. So we had to know all this information, and we knew I need to ask these specific questions. So someone calls and I answer. How are you answering? You need to have a team that knows how to answer. If they call, you answer, hi, who I'm talking to, hello. You know, it's like, who are you? I called this specific company to receive help with immigration, to receive help with IT service, to receive help with my purchase. Then introduce yourself properly. You need to create the script for that, but that will build confidence. So introduce yourself. Number two, identify the client's need. As I mentioned in the example, right? I was I wanted to know, okay, I'm speaking with this person. Perfect. How may I help? Or, you know, you need to ask questions to know, to identify the client's need. Ask simple, clear questions. Listen more than you talk because you're trying to understand what he needs. Um, you can ask questions like, did you call because of the offer that we have? Or are you calling because of our service, specific service, right? This specific service? No. How can I help you? What do you need? And you will understand what they need. If you understand the need of the client, and for these there are different questions, kind of questions you can ask, right? Like, will help you. And we'll talk more in detail next time about those specific questions. But this is your basic process. You need to build a script that follows this process so that you can then improve your sales. Um, so identify your client's need. That's super important. If you maybe you have multiple services, right? And you start talking about something, and the client is like, "No, I was trying to get help with my website," and you were selling, I don't know, a marketing service, and now you're like, "Oh, you need the website services. Sure, we can do that." But then you started with something completely different. Then the client will be like, are you specialized on what I need on fixing websites or not? So you need to have the need of the client so that you can then properly say what you're supposed to say. Convince the client. Sales is all about convincing the client. You want to show the value of your service. You want to focus your talk in solving their pain. I like to call this like giving the best that you have, and then the client immediately will say, okay, what do I need to get this? Where do I pay? Where do I purchase this? How do I obtain this service? If you solve their pain, they will want to buy. So focus on solving more than selling. If you focus on solving, you'll see how every single sell is easier. because you're giving the value they need. You're giving the solution they need. You're giving them what they need. You know the need. You have confidence. You are convincing the client, hey, my product, my service gives you this. This is what you need. Then you make an offer. In between these two steps, step 3 and step 4, I have a question, the magic question I call it, is like, with everything I've shown you, are you ready to get this service, to get this product? Are you ready to purchase this? And then they will say yes or no. If they say no, you will know why, and that helps you to understand how to convince that client or the next one, how to improve yourselves to your speech. So convincing the client with your solving the problem that they have, giving value, asking the magic question, and then you make an offer. Well, actually, making the offer. This magic question is around here, right? We're convincing the client, and then we make an offer. Then we ask the question. Um, be clear and direct. Show confidence in your proposal. This offer, you have to show something. You have to. This is my offer. If you're just talking, it's difficult. I'd rather they see in an actual offer. Let me send you the offer, or let's jump on this specific call to show you the offer. If you just send a document, they won't read everything, they won't understand it. But if you are in a call with them, you're sharing your screen and you're saying, hey, this is what your offer includes, and this is what you're paying. And I have this offer, like offer number 1, if you pay this right now, offer number 2, offer number 3, and then magic question. Let's close the deal. Ask for the yes directly. Guide them through the decision. Ask with this that I show you. I show you the value. I show you what you're getting. I show you the price. Are you ready to make a decision? Yes. No. Why not? Oh, you need to ask your wife. Can we have a call with your wife to show her this value? Let me convince your wife for you. I can feel that you want to purchase this, but maybe your wife is not very, you know, convinced. Let me convince her for you. Let me have that difficult conversation with her. And then we can have the two persons with the decision making power in the same place, showing them everything, and then they can make a decision. Um, and then number 6, this is probably the most important one, and this is probably the one that you're more scared of. Follow up. The follow up is so important, because probably, yes, you have the person and the wife and you're talking to them and you're like, hey, are you ready to buy this? They will say, I'll discuss with my partner. Okay. If you don't follow up, you won't sell that deal. You have to follow up. You have to. um, you need to structure your system for follow-ups. Don't leave money on the table. If you forget to follow up, that's a deal you didn't close, and you could, but you didn't follow up. um, you have to. Okay. So follow up. For how long? Until the client says, I'm gonna sue you if you keep calling me. Don't quit the follow-ups. You follow up always, every day, every week, until they say stop calling. I already purchased something else. And even then, you can still offer something different. But follow up, follow up, follow up. This rule that I have here, 75310, it's my rule for when I'm scheduling appointments. That's one of my rules for follow-ups. Follow up 7 days before the appointments. And that's when you already close the deal. This is a deal for later. But you can create, this is an example of a rule for your follow-ups. Follow up 7 days before the appointment, 5 days before, 3 days before. the day before, and the same day. It could be backwards. It could be, okay, I'll follow up today. After the call, I'll follow up later today. I'll follow up tomorrow. I'll follow up today, 3 days later. I'll follow up 5 days later, and 7 days later. You can create something different for your structure, something that works for you. But you have to have a follow up structure. You have to know, okay, that person is not buying right now, maybe 3 weeks. Who will be calling that? Who will be doing that follow up? Maybe in 1 month from now. But you need to follow up. Follow ups are so, so, so important. You need to have a full conversation with your team just about follow ups, and not being scared of following up, being scared of calling and asking for, hey, are you ready to buy this? We talked a week ago. Do you need some help? Do you have any questions? Do you, why are you scared of? What are you scared of? How can I help you? So follow ups will close your deals. This is the sales process. This is the sales process that I use. You can have a different one. I try to keep my sales processes in the 4 to 6 steps. That's it. It's something easy to follow, something to remember, and then, of course, on each one of these processes, you will have a structure. Next week, we will be talking about the step by step. Okay, the detailed process. So that's the overall process, 6 steps, and then I have an 11 steps more detailed process on what you have to do for all of this, right? um but it's so important to have a process. If you don't have a process, I assure you, if you create a process right now and you start following that process with your sales teams, you will have better results. So create your process and start working on it. And then once you have the detailed process, once you have the overall process, create a detailed process. Next time, we'll be talking about that detailed process that I use, that is proven to work. And follow me up on the social network so that you don't miss out for that session. Okay, that is the thing that have helped me the most in my companies, in the processes, in my sales. I have been improving this technique for the past 3-4 years, and it is working. And I know that if you follow it, it will work for you. And if you have questions, let me know in the comments. I'm happy to answer your questions. I'm happy to help you, and let's succeed together. Okay. So I'll see you next time, next week at 2 p.m. Thank you for joining today. Have a good day.